work session. The first order of business is to approve 3 sets of work session minutes, August 6th, August 13th, and September 3rd. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments?
I just
All
have a
right,
comment.
all-
Mark, I noticed Mark tried to motion, but you were muted.
Yeah, I saw.
Okay.
Did you get a motion and a second, Laurie?
Wallace and Maggie.
Okay, thanks. All right. All right, any questions or comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Motion passes. All right, then we'll move on to our first quarter financial report. Russ, I know we have Director of Finance Sandy Stevens here. Russ, I'll turn it over to you to introduce it.
All right. Yes, we have our excellent finance director, Sandy Stevens. She and I have been working on the budget quite diligently over the past month or so plus. And she's got a report here on the first quarter financials for the city of Kirkwood. First quarter, of course, from April through June 30th, April 1, June 30th. Something to keep in mind here is that contained the shutdown period of the entire month of April basically was shut down in the county of St. Louis, and part of May, about half of May was shut down during that time frame. So the numbers that we're reporting here reflect monies taken in during that time, which was really reflecting money in March, April. So she'll cover that. She'll explain how that is reflected in these numbers.
Very good. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and pull up the report so that I'm getting used to this technology myself. So what we have here, we will go through on page 1, just gives everybody a snapshot of the balance sheet for all the governmental funds in one spot. And on page 2 is, we call it the statement of revenues, expenditures, and fund balance, which is the equivalent to the private sector's income statements for all funds in a snapshot. Moving on to page 3 is the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the city. We have a fiscally healthy fund balance or balance sheet with our fund balance at 7.5 million about, and it's 26% of our annual operating expenditures. Now it is below the guidelines, but that is something that not to be alarmed with the pandemic going on, because the goal will be when the economy starts turning around to make sure that we build that back up into the 30% range. And plus you got to remember, this is just the first quarter of our fiscal year that we're looking at. I personally do not see anything alarming about it. Our operating unrestricted cash is 10 million, which that all has to do with the prior planning of city council and building up the fund balance to weather these storms and economic downtimes. Then on page 4 is where we get into our revenues that we've received. And as you can see here, our total tax revenues compared to the same period last year are down 1.6%. But as Russ started to explain, the sales tax revenues that we are receiving are for business during the months of February, March, and April. And we had a very strong receipts for April and May, which covers February and March. Even stronger than we normally do. And so that helped us weather the storm with April's receipts coming in at 25% less than June of the prior year. So overall, the tax category had a decrease of 1.6% because of this, or about $55,000. I mean, yeah, 55,000. And then our next category is our licensing permits and fines. And that had a decrease of about 23%, or 75,000. Now, part of that decrease is we allowed our businesses to help them pay their, we did not charge any penalties for late filings to help them as they adjusted to the COVID pandemic as well. And then also our courts were closed for the pandemic. So those are things that are accounted for in our business and licenses. So moving on to page 5. Oh, bear with me. I may have to start this. Okay, can you still see it? Okay. Oh, well, oh, here it is. Can you see it now?
No.
Oh,
Okay, well, I may have to does everybody have a copy of the,
What page are you on, Sandy?
I am on, hang on, I got to get to my copy, page 5. And Freddie, can you help me get to where everybody can see what I'm on? What did I do wrong?
If you select the screen you would like to be viewed, when you tap share screen.
I know, but it's telling me my screen share is paused. How do I unpause it?
Okay. Give me just 1 second.
Okay, well, oh, I got it. Oh, maybe I don't. Okay, let's just go on. I'm sorry about that. I'm learning this technology as well. So, but on page 5, we have our intergovernmental services, which decreased for the quarter 32%. But the reason for this is we just started last year in that ground emergency management with the fire department. And as a result, last year we already had $92,900 from that program. And this past year, we have not received our money yet, and I suspect it's due to COVID. And so that should be catching up and being comparable to the prior years. And under our next category, our charges for services, you would notice that's decreased 72% or almost $898,000. Surprisingly, during a pandemic, people are shocked to hear that ambulance revenues is one of the items that are down in this category. But the reason for that is it wasn't that our fire department was receiving fewer calls. It was that people weren't being transported because of COVID. And so without being transported, we're not making any revenue on the ambulance side. They're just going there, taking care of the patient, and then going on without us being able to bill for any of those services. And then the other hardest hit areas, of course, are parks and recreation in this category. And their revenues decreased 87% or $728,000 due to us having to close and defer programs. And so it was a really hard time for our Parks and Rec, and I think that they're doing a wonderful job trying to make the best of the situation and bring our programs that we're allowed to bring back at reduced capacity. So our revenues overall decreased 21% or almost $1.2 million. And like I said, the largest factor is that our charges for services in our Parks and Rec and our ambulance. And then if you turn to page 6, we have our expenditures, and our expenditures have decreased 7% and or 447,000. And throughout the fiscal year, you are going to see the rest of the charges, the budget cuts that council put in immediately. You'll start seeing those gradually come into play because all those cuts don't show up in one quarter. They show up throughout the fiscal year. So we ended up the year after transfers with a decrease in our fund balance of $745,000. Um, and like I said, I think that with council's wisdom and building up our fund balance in previous years and healthy, this is what's helping us be able to weather the storm and not be able to, and allow us to continue to provide the services to our residents that they want and have paid for. Then on page 7 through 9 are charts to graphically show you our revenues and how they're split up and our expenditures. Turning to page 10 is our police and fire pension fund. And as of June 30th, they had $505,000 in cash. As you know, this is one of the funds that we are watching. And as of June 30th, the transfer from the general fund has not been made yet, but it'll be made in the second quarter when the cash flow is really needed. As you know, tonight on the council agenda is the property tax. So we will not receive any property taxes until November through January. And so that's when the cash flow will change dramatically. Oh, thank you, Freddie. So as you can see, turning to page 11, that in the police and fire fund, we have used $214,000 of fund balance through June. And then I think I'm going to, so we don't run out of time, go over to the electric fund, which if you turn to page 25, and you'll see that the electric fund has unrestricted cash about 1.6 million. And they have a real healthy fund or balance sheet. And I don't see anything that I am concerned about at this point in time. On page 26, their revenues are down, but let me get to my notes here. Their revenues are down 14% through June, but at that time, the weather was still mild. And as the weather has gotten warmer over the past several months, when I looked at his revenue as of mid-September, he is at 48.5. So I expect by the end of the September numbers that Mark's revenues should be about 50% of budget, which is where we would want to be at September 30th. And then his operational expenses decreased 14% or $872,000. And that was primarily due to his capital expenditures being deferred. And when the electric revenues are down, we're not selling as much, so the purchase power cost is down. So before transfers, there was an increase of $82,000 in the electric fund. And then moving on to page 28, the water fund had an unrestricted cash balance of 6.1 million. And the same as with the electric, they have a healthy fund balance and are doing really well. Turning to page 29, water revenues were up 4%, but they also had a 3% increase in rates at the beginning of this fiscal year. Their operating expenses decreased 22%, and they had a net change in fund balance of $697,000. So they're doing really well in healthy fund. Turning to page 31 is our sanitation department, and they had 1.2 million in unrestricted cash, which is really good for this fund. It's one of the funds that we're watching, and as council knows that starting next month, the rates have been increased. And so we're hoping that with this will help this fund continue to recover and do well. Their revenues are stable, and their change in net position before transfers was an increase of 94,000. The next thing I really want, and we can go back afterwards, I just want to make sure we don't run out of time, is I want to turn and go to our investments in the back, and looks like I missed the page numbers. But this is an inventory of the city's investments. And this is kind of one of the things that I use to spot check and see how the cash flow and things are going just in one snapshot. And what this will tell you, first of all, we have, because of the change in the way the investments are going, for the first time in a long time, I guess for the last maybe 6 years, our portfolio has been shifting to a lot more CDs, because that's, we still got the security for the city, but that's where a lot more of the yield was coming in that we are allowed by the state. And so the weighted average of maturity is 1,020 days, which is under the 5 years. We are not allowed to have any of our investments longer than 5 years out. And our average yield, which is very sad, I hate to say, is 1.35%. Years ago, I remember talking to council, and we had average yields in the 5% range, if not higher. So in my 20 years, it's sad to see that they're this low. But then it also lets council see how our investments are divided up. So we have 50% in CDs and 50% in government agencies. And with that, is there anything else of particular interest that council wants to go back and review on any part of the report?
Thank you, Sandy. Before we go to any specific council questions, I know this is just the first quarter. I was going to ask Russ again before we go back to specific questions. What is your take on the first quarter? You know, for our finances.
Yeah, through our analysis and looking at some of the macro trends around the country, as well as what we're experiencing here, cautious, I wouldn't even use the word optimism, just a cautious approach is necessary here. As I stated early on, we're projecting the budget right now for next fiscal year, which is April 21 through March 22. All the indications are that this is not going to be a V-curve type rebound under any stretch of the imagination. At first, it was seen as maybe that would happen once things reopened. We'd bounce right back up to normalcy in economic activity. That is not occurring. So we're not going to project along those lines. We're being very cautious in projecting revenues for the next fiscal year, and really determining what we should and shouldn't expend on during this fiscal year. As council was astute in identifying early on in the process back in March, we needed to cut our budget, and we did. We cut 2.8 million from the current budget. A lot of that is in capital. Some of that ends up getting deferred to the following year, and that's part of what council is going to be considering when they take up next year's budget as it's presented to them in December and January by me and the CFC, and everybody has an opinion on what the appropriate amount is. The question stands, who has the better crystal ball at this point? Sandy and I are in pretty much agreement that we've got to be really cautious. So I think cautious is the word here, and realistic. Got to be realistic. I just went through with department heads for next year's budget, cutting that sucker down. We can't be unrealistic. We've got to live within the means and build our fund balance. Now, last year's fund balance, I'm going to give a cheater here, but I heard today that last year's fund balance actually went up by $268,000, and I think Sandy is pretty comfortable with that number. We're going to get the audited numbers back officially in October, but it does appear that we added to fund balance in the last fiscal year, which is always a goal. That is always something where we don't want to expend more than what we take in, and adding 268,000 to the fund balance is a positive. We want to continue that positive activity going forward, obviously. In a situation where we have tenuous revenue streams, right now, a lot of our revenue comes from sales tax. And what happens in the winter when all this outdoor eating activity that you're seeing at restaurants downtown and so forth, under the health requirements right now, indoor activity can only be 25% at a restaurant. 25% capacity. Well, when it gets cold out, where are all those people who are eating outside going to go? I guess they're going to go home and eat in their houses. I don't know. So that's a big question mark for us right now. We'll have a little better idea when we get second quarter of the fiscal year in, which will be October, November. We'll have an idea where we are on that. But, you know, from first quarter, we've got to be cautious. We can't tell where we're going very well at this point. We've got to see second quarter, and then after second quarter, we're going to have to read third quarter before we get a real good idea of where we're heading. So, yeah, we watch local trends, we watch national trends. It's a constant learning curve for all of us.
All right. Thank you, Russ. We've got about 10 minutes. Do we have any specific council questions for Sandy on the report? Anybody raises any hands raised? Maggie.
I would just like to thank Russ and Sandy for all of your hard work. This is invaluable, and all of your knowledge and everything that you all put into this, and whoever else is your support. But the two of you, thank you.
Well, all our departments work on it, and I appreciate Sandy's efforts because she watches it like a hawk, which is important.
Yep. Thank you muchly.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to go in order. Then I didn't see hands earlier. Okay, Mark, you're next.
Yeah, just a quick thank you. You know, the numbers, they could have been much worse. I think I was pleasantly surprised. And Sandy, you're right. You know, all the years that we, you know, we're conservative with these numbers and with our spending, and you know, we watched it like a hawk, and it paid off this year. So kudos to what we've been doing, and we need to continue to do that. So thank you again.
All right. I saw another hand. Carol.
Hey, for some of like the parks and recreation funds, are those, have we realized the biggest hit on that? As in, you know, are most of those day camps and aquatic center, is that kind of prepaid stuff from people going to day camps, going to the summer camp, or are we still going to see some of that eat into second quarter revenue?
Well, now, as far as the day camps are concerned, I don't want to bog down the conversation with how accounting goes, but the revenues were deferred into this new fiscal year from last year because most of the participants sign up a year, ahead of time before our fiscal year changes. So when they refunded that money, it was put in as revenue. So we've already seen what's going to happen as far as day camps are concerned. Now, as far as the pool activity, we do anticipate, I haven't seen the final numbers since the pool is closed, but it opened late and it opened with restricted capacity. So yes, I do expect to see those numbers being down. you know, they've taken a real large hit, and they've had softball teams that had signed up, and then they had to refund their money because the teams decided, no, we don't want to take a chance and we don't want to play. So we will see this affect the Parks Department probably more so than any other department until people are comfortable and then the county's health regulations change.
Okay, yeah, that was kind of my concern. So thanks for unfortunately clarifying that. But just thanks again to everyone in the administration for helping kind of make this first quarter look less terrible than anticipated. That's all.
Hey, Tim, I have one.
Yeah, Wallace?
Yeah, Russ, is probably a question for you. I'm gonna characterize it as found money, the Prop P, which is based on countywide sales tax. Does the county executive have the ability to use some of the FAIRS Act federal money to bulk up that revenue for Prop P?
I don't know that he would use it to bulk up the revenue from Prop P, but he may use it to reimburse the public safety expenses related directly to COVID for his county officers. Obviously, they don't have a fire department at the county level, but we are in the process of working through with the county right now a municipal distribution, which is on the agenda tonight for Federal CARES Act funds that the cities may be able to apply for as of, well, we can apply right now. As a matter of fact, the deadline for application is October 2nd. So that is on the agenda. We do intend to apply. We do intend to hopefully receive funds through that distribution for public safety and other COVID-related expenses in the city of Kirkwood.
Okay, so he has no, I guess my question is, does he have access to revenue that was, I guess, specifically his purview to distribute that he could use to support the loss in Prop P sales?
The county received $173 million of federal funds directly because they were an entity of above 500,000 population. There were no cities in the state of Missouri that qualified. There were 2 counties that did, Jackson and St. Louis County. So he received those funds. When I say he, is the county executive, received those funds on behalf of the county, and the county council authorized him complete autonomy in distribution of those funds within the county for legal purposes. In other words, they have to be compliant with what the regulations set at the federal level are. He's expended it on county expenses related to COVID-19, and now has authorized $47 million to go to municipalities on a per capita basis, with about 13 million of that 47 million being for some of the needier municipalities. As I understand, the actual distribution of those funds is still to be determined as to what portion goes per capita and so forth. But there is a significant chunk that could be eligible for the city of Kirkwood. Now, whether he wants to prop up Prop P, as you suggest, that's entirely up to the county. If he props up Prop P, it's not going to be redistributed to the cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking that was one where we had a known distribution plan prior to COVID. And so it would be fair to assume that it's fair for us to continue receiving that amount.
We're going to receive the amount that is collected through Prop P. I'm not aware of receiving anything beyond what is collected through Prop P distributed to the cities through that formula.
Yeah, my concern is that the county was suffering a much heavier loss in sales tax countywide than the city of Kirkwood did.
You're correct. You're absolutely correct. Our Prop P distribution is down 10+%, whereas some of the other numbers are in the 2 and 3% drop range. So yeah, the county's overall collection of Prop P sales tax it was impacted to a higher rate than the city of Kirkwood's.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right. Seeing none. Sandy, thank you very much. We appreciate your thoroughness, and the executive summary helps us follow it all. So we really, really appreciate that and look forward to, I don't know if we look forward to it, but we'll get our second quarter here in the next couple months. All right. Let's see. We have nothing else for this work session, so we will leave this and come back for our regular council meeting at 7 p.m. So this meeting is adjourned.
See you later.
See you then.
Again, Councilmember Sears still needs to log on to the meeting. There we go. I saw Bob pop in. There we go. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our City Council meeting. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be recited by Councilmember Sears.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob. Roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Here.
Councilmember Sears,
Here,
Councilmember Dewey,
Here?
Councilmember Zimmer,
Here.
Councilmember Ward,
Here.
Councilmember Wirtz,
Here.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Here.
Thank you. And now I'd like the City Attorney John Hessel to enter into the minutes information regarding the Sunshine Law.
Thank you, Mayor. As I've announced previously at these meetings, Section 610.015 of the Missouri Sunshine Law provides that members of the council who are not physically present in the council chambers can participate and vote on all matters when an emergency exists, and the nature of the emergency must be stated in the minutes. So I would ask again that the minutes reflect the United States, state of Missouri is still in the state of an emergency due to the coronavirus, and pursuant to the orders of the governor of the state of Missouri, as well as the county executive, meetings must be held in which everyone maintains a safe distance. And because of the gatherings of 10 or more people to avoid the spread of the coronavirus, therefore members of the city council are elected to participate in this meeting electronically, for the public health and safety of each other and the general public.
Thank you, John. We do have a presentation tonight, the Urban Forestry Commission Advocate of the Year Award. And I understand the recipient, Dr. David Slane, is going to be a participant in this. And before I say anything, I will wait for Dr. Slane to get on. Dave, are you there?
He should be joining us momentarily.
Yeah, I thought I saw him coming on. Oh, there we go. Hello, Dr. David Slane. We see you. Can you? All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and read about the award, and then Dave can. He's already got the award, and he can present and say a few words. So bear with me. I'm pleased on behalf of the Urban Forestry Commission to present their Advocate of the Year Award to Dr. David Slane. Dr. Slane served on the commission from 2011 to 2019 and served as chair for several of those years. Under his unique and charismatic leadership, Kirkwood completed a comprehensive street tree inventory in large part using grant funding. Kirkwood created and filled an urban forester position to oversee the management of city trees in the right-of-way, and the city's first tree ordinance was drafted and passed. Dave's leadership has always been hands-on. He participated in parades, festivals, expos, Arbor Days, planning events, and teaching opportunities. He did a tree climbing demonstration at each elementary school, hosting a junior tree keeper program, and always attended their award ceremonies. He has donated and planted numerous trees throughout the city. As a certified arborist, his expertise was invaluable to the commission. The city is fortunate in the number and quality of the citizens who volunteer their time on boards and commissions, and Dr. David Slane is an example and more than deserving of this award. Congratulations. David, would you like to say anything? Well, unfortunately, we're not able to hear you. There is the award. Freddie, do you know, is there anything regarding volume that we can do?
He's allowed to speak, but he hasn't activated his mic.
Okay. Your mic is not activated, David, so. Well, we'll take your thumbs up as your words. All right. David. Thanks for all you've done and continue to do. Very, very good. Thank you. All right, we will move on to public comments.
Okay, the public comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the city council to listen to comments from citizens. It is not a question and answer session, and the city council will not respond to comments or answer questions during this period. The mayor may refer any matter brought up to the city council to the chief administrative officer or city clerk if action is needed.
Do we have anyone wishing to make a comment?
There's one.
All right.
And Mayor, if I may say, whoever's going to make a public comment, please state your name and address for the record, please.
I believe his name is Chris. You've been unmuted.
Okay, and her name is Chris.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Good evening. My name is Chris Raker, and I live with my husband Gary at 3 Ivanhoe Woods. I know a number of you from other venues. Gary and I like to give praise when it's due, as we recently did by emailing our appreciation for the prompt response to multiple water main breaks on our small cul-de-sac. Sometimes we also reluctantly feel a need to express concerns, which is why I'm addressing you this evening. Our street has been in very rough shape for numerous years. I understand the south area of the city was scheduled for repairs in 2017, but no such work was done to Ivanhoe Woods. One of the water department workers told us last month that he had been to our street at least 15 times to respond to water main issues, and we would concur. Each time that happens, our street is patched, and now it looks like a poorly made patchwork quilt. After the most recent repairs, we had 5 new large patches of asphalt. And on the same day those patches were made, 3 trash trucks drove on the street, necessarily driving across the patches and creating large ruts in the newly poured surfaces. In addition to those ruts, we have areas with good-sized holes where you can look down and see that there is nothing below the surface holding concrete in place. The average age of residents on our street is 70. One of our neighbors is 76, lives alone, and is restricted by her doctor from going to any public place. Since the pandemic began, her only exercise and opportunity to see others comes when she takes her 3 times a day walks around the circle. Last week, we were in our yard when my husband saw her trip and fall on one of the asphalt patches next to her driveway. When we didn't see her for a couple of days, I called and found out that she had broken 3 toes in her fall. And 2 days later, we saw another person trip while he was walking his dog on our street. I called the street department last Friday and left a message with this information. We saw several Kirkwood trucks drive down the street after that, but nothing was done. Perhaps there is a plan for further action, but I've received no notification to that effect after my call. I know funding is limited for repairs, but I have driven a lot of Kirkwood streets and ours seems to be among the worst. It really is safe for pedestrians, particularly in the circle at the end. My neighbors and I would like to invite each of you to take a walk down Ivanhoe Woods. It's a wonderful street. We take pride in our homes, our yards, and the way we look out for each other. But our street has become a concern that needs your attention soon. Thank you very much for your service. My comments are concluded.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else wishing to make a comment? All right.
David Slane.
Oh, his time is up.
I now understand why he is unable to talk. He is using an older version of Zoom, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I cannot allow him to talk at this time.
Okay. All right. I'm sure we'll hear from David again at some point. All right. With that, public comments are closed. We will move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Approval.
All right. I know that we only have one item on there, and I think Councilmember Gibbons has an amendment to the minutes that she would like to make. Councilmember Gibbons?
Sorry, do I do that now?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yes, under the concerns that the council addressed after the presentation from petitioner Chris Morzalewski on Commerce Bank, I just want to add another concern on the two-way access points.
Or you have that amendment, don't you?
I do.
Okay. All right. Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments on the amendment to the minutes? All right. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right. The motion to amend passes. All right. If there are no further questions, all in favor of the consent agenda as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right. Consent agenda passes. We will move on to unfinished business, and we need a substitute bill brought to the floor. So could I have a motion to bring substitute bill 10844 to the floor?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments? All right. All in favor of bringing substitute bill 10844 on the floor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. We now have on the floor substitute bill 10844.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance fixing and establishing the rate of taxation to be levied upon all real estate and certain tangible personal property in the city of Kirkwood, County of St. Louis, State of Missouri, for the year 2020, for the maintenance of the Kirkwood Public Parks, for the Police and Firemen's Pension Fund, for general government services, and for businesses in the Special Business District.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments on the bill? All right. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears. Councilmember Sears. Okay. Councilmember Dewey.
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes.
Councilmember Ward.
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz.
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Yes.
Bill passes. Now we have another substitute bill that needs to be brought to the floor. So is there a motion to bring substitute bill 10845 to the floor?
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
All right. Questions or comments? All right. All in favor of bringing this bill to the floor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. All right. Bill is brought to the floor. Substitute bill 10845.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance fixing and establishing the rate of taxation to be levied upon all real estate and certain tangible personal property in the city of Kirkwood, County of St. Louis, State of Missouri, for the year 2020, for the operation and maintenance of the Municipal Library District of Kirkwood.
Do we have any questions or comments on this bill? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Yes.
Bill passes. Bill 10846.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance appropriating funds in the amount of $91,359.92 from the debt service fund to the transfer to other funds account, and then transferring funds in the amount of $91,359.92 from the transfer to other funds account to the general fund.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Yes.
Bill passes. We go on to new business, Bill 10847.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance amending the provisions of the Municipal Code Appendix A zoning, Section A-510.8, regarding the frontage occupation requirement in B2 General Business District, Central Business District.
All right, do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, do we have any questions or comments on this bill? All
Yeah,
right.
could we get an explanation of that for the overall viewers?
Say that again, Wallace, I'm sorry.
Could we just get an explanation of that so that the viewers
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
have an understanding?
Russ, have Jonathan give a brief overall perspective of what we're doing here.
Yeah, Jonathan can certainly give a rundown.
Yeah.
Yep, sure. Thank you. So we held the public hearing for this item at the last meeting, but the text amendment has been requested, and it would specifically amend the frontage occupation requirement in the B2 district. And I showed a map during the public hearing, and I can pull that up if you guys want me to. But it basically, when there is a corner property that has frontage on an A street and a B street, it would not require that same building frontage occupation on the B street. And if it were on two B streets, it would have to meet that on one such frontage. So it really is kind of a refinement of our street frontage occupation requirement, which came out of the downtown master plan in an effort to make the downtown development more pedestrian oriented and pedestrian friendly by bringing the buildings to the street and having them occupy the frontage of the property, with trying to isolate, I guess, parking and those types of uses to the back of a site. So this amendment does really go along with the recommendation and intent of the downtown master plan and staff's opinion, because the B streets were really streets that were identified to accommodate more of that vehicular use. So this would be an amendment to recognize and codify that.
Thanks, Jonathan.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Do we have any other questions or comments on this? All right. Seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right. Motion passes. Bill passes first reading. Bill 10848.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance granting a special use permit for a physical fitness facility at 10505 Big Bend Boulevard, subject to certain conditions.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Move approval.
Okay. You got those, Lauren? Thank you. All right. Do we have any questions or comments on this bill? All right. Seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Bill passes first reading. Bill 10849.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance approving the final subdivision plat of a 2-lot commercial subdivision known as Kirkwood Mixed Use, a tract of land being part of the West 1/2 Block 11 of the town of Kirkwood, as recorded in Plat Book 3, page 57 in the city of Kirkwood, St. Louis County, Missouri.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Move approval.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Lori, one quick thing I meant to, in the third whereas clause, and maybe Jonathan can answer this, should that say September 2020? Is that correct? It says 19. I just want to make sure it's just a small.
I would imagine so. Jonathan, can you confirm the
Yeah,
third whereas clause? I would imagine so. That was just a typo on the year.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Okay.
I apologize. Yeah.
No, that's fine. I figured, I just want to make sure that we noted that. Lori, that can be changed, correct? I mean, that doesn't
Yep.
need a-
We'll have it corrected for the second reading.
Okay, all right, very good, thank you. I know council will have some questions on different issues on this. The one thing I just wanted to bring up, I know there were some questions regarding, the fence. And I know the subcommittee report recommended a 6-foot Simtech type fence. My thought on this is, and we've done this before, and Jonathan, you can weigh in, when we've had fence issues like over at Kirkwood Audi and all that, the applicant and the neighbors kind of, got together and figured out what was the best fence for all involved. And I'm wondering if we could do that here, knowing that ultimately city council, if they can't come to an agreement or, there is some, it's not resolved, city council ultimately can determine what fence is there.
Well, sure. And I guess what I would remind is the items on the agenda tonight are for the plat. So it's not,
So this is,
not regarding the site plan. So the fence is not on the agenda tonight. And so the one reason I want to remind is we've received some additional information or response from the applicant regarding some of the topics that came up in the site plan. And I will be passing that information along to the council hopefully tomorrow, but that information can be, after you see their response and the additional information they provided, I think we can maybe have that discussion when the site plan's on the agenda.
Jonathan, that's my error, and that's what I get for not asking before the meeting. So what we have tonight is an ordinance for the final subdivision plat, but then we have a resolution later.
The resolution is for the preliminary plat, which is, it is confusing, but the preliminary plat, for commercial purposes, the preliminary plat really is just an exhibit showing it can be developed, but it does not regulate how the site is developed. That is done by the site plan itself, which is not for consideration tonight.
Okay. All right, thank you. That was my mistake. And again, I'll know better and talk to you beforehand. So
that's no problem.
Right. Knowing that the fence issues and other things will come up during the site plan. Are there any, Jonathan, do us a favor, just what issues, so anything regarding the trees, the fence, the flagpole, none of that has anything to do with tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct. So both the final and the final plat, technically it's just the out boundary survey. All it is it sets the legal property lines for the 2 lots that are being proposed. The preliminary plat does have some development shown on it, but it's just a proof that the site can be developed is the best way I can explain it for commercial property, and that it can be developed in a way that feasibly can meet our code, but it does not entitle them to any development. It's just a preliminary design or preliminary proof for the plat. So tonight, this type of commercial subdivision in our city, because we are built out essentially, they're what I would consider a minor subdivision. There's no introduction in this case, at least there's no introduction of new roadways, no dedication, no extensions of major public utilities. So really for commercial purposes, our subdivision requirements in this case are very minimal as to what we evaluate, honestly. And they the plat and final and preliminary plat do meet the subdivision code regulations, and the city is, and Mr. Hessel may weigh in, but based on case law, the city is very tied to reviewing this against the objective criteria in our subdivision code.
And Mayor and Council, if I can add one other thing. The Court of Appeals told us years ago that if a subdivision proposal meets all of the minimum requirements of the subdivision code, then the city council has no discretion other than to approve it. I have to tell you, this has been like 30 years. I still think they're wrong. Because otherwise, why do we need to bring it to the city council? But again, I don't have a black robe. So the courts have determined that if it meets all the minimum requirements, the city council has no discretion. It must approve the subdivision plat. As Jonathan just mentioned, it does meet all of the requirements.
Thank you. Jonathan, now your email the other day makes sense. When you said you'd have it by the end of the week, I'm thinking the meeting is Thursday, so now that makes total sense. Okay. So discussions on fences, flagpoles, ingress, egress, trees, that is not applicable tonight. So, all right. With that in mind, do we have any other questions or comments on the subdivision plat bill? Let's see. I'll wait and see. All right. The only hand I see is Councilmember Zimmer.
Just one quick question about the division of this proposal. Is there any particular reason why they selected the 1.44 acre and 0.74 acre division of this property?
So I think the preliminary plat portion, which I know we're not on that agenda item technically right now, but that depicts probably the reasoning for that. So in their proposals, it does have to do with the design that they have in mind. Obviously, you want to divide the property accordingly to what you want to do with it. Now, with that said, again, I'll reiterate, approval of dividing the land does not approve what they want to do on it. But it's very clear that the two lots as proposed were based upon the current plan for the property.
Okay, good. Now, I think that's a good explanation that sets the base for the discussion as this moves forward. So thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments from council? All right. Seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. All right. Bill passes first reading. We have resolution 103, 2020.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a resolution approving the preliminary subdivision plat of a 2-lot commercial subdivision known as Kirkwood Mixed Use. Did we not just do this one?
Yeah. See, I'm glad you're confused too, Russ. That makes us.
Isn't this the same thing?
So the first one is the final plat. That's why I said I was talking
right
about the preliminary plat, but anyway, sorry.
No problem, Jonathan. That's my bad. I just felt like I'd read the exact same thing previously and it's daggum near it. Okay, we'll do that again. Mayor and Council, this is a resolution approving the preliminary subdivision plat of a 2-lot commercial subdivision known as Kirkwood Mixed Use, a tract of land being part of the west 1/2 of Block 11 of the town of Kirkwood, as recorded in Plat Book 3, page 57 in the city of Kirkwood, St. Louis County, Missouri.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
A second?
Second.
Second.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments on this one? All right. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wirtz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 104, 2020.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the bid of T Hill Construction in the not to exceed amount of $30,000, which includes a contingency of $2,030 for a public sidewalk re-leveling program and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments on this resolution?
Yes.
All right,
I do have-
Councilmember Sears.
Yeah, my question is just whether this is for a particular segment or portion of sidewalk, or is it just for the program to be put in place? I tried to read the attachments and didn't see anywhere where it's identified if it's work to be done. I don't see where the work is. If it's putting together a plan, that's a different thing.
It's to provide another option for the city in its sidewalk repair program, basically, where, and I may let Bill describe this, but he's certainly welcome to. But my understanding is it is in situations where the portion of sidewalk is intact and you can literally keep that concrete, re-level under it and place it back down level.
I got the
Not
perspective.
site specific.
Yeah, it's
I want to know
non-specific right now. It's a
direct
program.
question is, what are they doing for $30,000?
Bill Benson, go ahead.
Hello, Bill.
You're on mute,
Bill,
Bill.
you're muted.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yep.
Basically, this is part of our program, and the spots have not been identified yet because it's our call-in program. When people call in about hazardous sidewalk, then this is another tool in our toolbox that we can replace this sidewalk. And this is not the removal of the sidewalk, but the re-leveling of existing sidewalk. So that's where we'll use it. In certain cases where the concrete slabs are not broken, but just sunken, we can actually go in and re-level the sidewalk using the existing sidewalk in place.
Okay, so what are we getting for $30,000? Just future work? Is it?
Yes, that's the maximum amount we can spend, this $30,000, as people call in for sidewalk hazard.
I understand.
Do you have other questions or comments on this? Councilmember Gibbon?
Bill, I'm wondering about, I know it's the sidewalk has to be intact, but is there anything that can cause it by doing this to crack in the future? What's the longevity compared to replacing, et cetera?
That's why we're going with the smaller contract. Chris Kruger, the city engineer, he did do a demo on this earlier this year, and it worked out well. So this is more of a test program to see the longevity of it. We have heard that, as long as we can re-level it, and it's actually tamped back into place, so it should have the same longevity as a replacement sidewalk, because with the concrete replacement, we rip out the sidewalk, and then we put a new base underneath it and pour concrete on it, okay? And this is just resetting that concrete. So I think the longevity should be equal to, just like some of the sidewalk we replace with concrete, if the ground sinks, it still sinks, and if a tree grows, it still raises. Okay, and it's regardless of if it's the replacement, the repouring, or the releveling, those effects still will exist.
This just seems like a good time for me to throw in something that really bothers me, and I know Chris and I talked about it a little bit, is the white sidewalks. We have these beautiful sidewalks in Kirkwood. I don't know how old a lot of them are. And we're putting this stark white patchwork stuff in the middle of beautiful sidewalks. And I really wish that we could find a way economically to bring them closer to the color of our pretty old sidewalks.
I would say we would love to do that, but we have an underfunded project already, a program already, and the cost to try and match sidewalks throughout the city in different locations at different shades of gray, different shades of exposed aggregate, it would just be not cost effective.
You started something here, Sears. I see a couple other hands up now. Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes, Bill, what is the cost comparison from leveling one slab of sidewalk versus jackhammering it and removing it and replacing it? Surely this is a less expensive option for us, right?
Chris, you want to take that one?
Sure. So our current bids for sidewalk run about $9.56. The square footage the price per square foot to relevel is the bid that was received is actually, I think it's around $1.50 more to relevel. However, there's many benefits that come out of it. One that Liz brings up is that it matches. There is less time that the sidewalk is out for pedestrians to use. The whole process takes about 30 minutes. So it is one way that we can try to keep our sidewalks the color that they are. But there is a small, about $1.50 per square foot more.
Any reason for that extra cost? Because you're not adding any new concrete material. I would think that it might be less than bringing in new concrete and paying for that to be poured.
Yeah, the only thing that I could really put my hands around is that this is a new program. It has been done at other municipalities. However, we have a pretty small amount of square foot that we have dedicated to the program. And so the economies of scale isn't really there. But if we added more square footage, that would probably drive it down.
Yeah, okay, great. All right, well, it's a great idea and a good start. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
I think Councilmember Ward, did you have your hand up?
My questions were asked and answered. I would like to comment that for future consideration, it would seem like it'd be an ideal operation to do in-house.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments on this resolution?
No.
Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears?
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 105, 2020.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the bid of Lamkey Trenching and Excavating in the not to exceed amount of $254,465, which includes a contingency of $23,133 for Marshall Road high pressure reduction, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
Approved.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments on this resolution? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears?
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 106, 2020.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution amending the contract with TWM by increasing the contract amount by $18,913.35 for a not to exceed amount of $360,772.35 for transportation engineering services for Manchester Road Improvement Project, additional streetscape design, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an amended contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
We got a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or comments on this? So Russ or Bill, do you want to state any explanation of what we're doing here?
I'll let Bill do that.
All right.
Okay, in the original contract, we talked about having an entrance monument to the city at the two ends of the project, now two ends of the project, which would be the eastern city limit line and the western city limit line. This is strictly due to the Phase 1 project, which is the east side of Manchester Road from Kirkwood Road to the city limit to the east side. And so this is for the actual, during the initial contract, they provided us artist rendering of what that entrance monument would look like. And now we're moving from there. We've given samples of that monument to the city administrator for his review. And to move next is the actual, and that's was not in the original contract. The only thing in the original contract was to provide conceptual drawings of this monument, which has been completed. And now to put that into the MoDOT plans, we have to have it actually designed now.
This is for design. The 18 is for design.
Correct. It's for design.
Council, questions or comments? Let's see. All right. Let's go to Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes, when we're designing this, is this something that we'll be able to replicate to other entrances into the city?
Yes, we could use this same design for, we plan on using it in the Phase 2 project also.
Okay.
And we could use it in other locations of the city if we wish to do so.
Sure, places like South Kirkwood Road or Big Bend.
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Ward, you had your hand up, I think.
Yeah, I have two questions, Bill. Was this initial amount already included in the matching grant from MoDOT?
Yes, we did have a portion of the matching grant in there, yes.
Okay. And second of all, there were some resident concerns about the use of the decorative filler strip along the curb line. How has that been resolved?
Chris, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so this is just to clarify, that is for Phase 2, which is west of Kirkwood Road. And this is along where there's parallel parking. The designer for MoDOT is incorporating and looking to eliminate that strip along those parking areas. And so I still have yet to receive the plans showing that elimination, but that is moving along with the designers from MoDOT.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Anything else? Councilmember Gibbon.
The other day, I finally have started meeting with department heads, 6 feet apart with masks on. But anyway, met with David Wedler. Am I saying his name correctly? He showed me the prettiest sign that's going to be used at the train station. And I'm just wondering if we can, aesthetically have these signs all match. To me, that would really it would just make the city come together, I think.
I will have to get a copy of that, okay? But what I can tell you is that the monuments that are being projected will match City Hall's brick and limestone caps, okay? So we focused on matching with the City Hall motif, basically.
And I'll also add that it's the word Kirkwood is written vertically, similar to on the Clay Avenue Bridge.
Correct.
Okay. This one it's not vertical.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the train station. That was a one-off project to replace a very severely deteriorated Amtrak sign currently. And we worked with the sign company just to come up with the best thing that we felt fit downtown Kirkwood. And I can understand why you like that sign. I think everybody who's seen it says that's going to be a really nice fit. I think the monuments are more an architectural type feature. And we tried to grab architectural features from City Hall and from the Clay Avenue Bridge in designing that.
Okay.
Councilmember Ward, any question?
Yeah, I'm guessing that Councilmember Gibbons' concern is that will this be a significant branding of Kirkwood and signage with the monuments that we're proposing? Will they enhance that in any way?
I think by their very nature, they're going to brand the entrances to the city. As I remember, they have I'm not 100% on this, but I believe they have the city's seal on them. Is that correct, Bill? The renderings?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe they have the city's seal, then the word Kirkwood vertically, and they're in a design that's a obelisk.
Okay. Yeah, historically, many of the streets had those concrete obelisk instead of the sign mounted. I think there may be a couple left in Kirkwood.
The ones on South Guyer at Woodbine are still there. Mm-hmm. Or in that area, Art Lane and so forth.
All right, any other questions or comments on this resolution? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears?
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 107, 2020.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution requesting that St. Louis County distribute $47 million of CARES Act funds on a per capita basis to the municipalities within the county to be used for eligible expenses, authorizing the Chief Administrative Officer of the City of Kirkwood, Missouri, to accept CARES Act funding and execute a municipality relief program funding agreement and confirming agreement to indemnify and hold harmless St. Louis County from such distribution.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
You got a motion, Mark, Maggie, a second. I want to let Russ explain this, but this is something that a lot of groups have been working on, Municipal League, Metro mayors, and this is a way for the municipalities to get a share of the County CARES Act funding. You know, in the work session, Russ referenced 173 million that the county got. This has been in the works and negotiations for a while for the municipalities on a per capita basis to get our share of that money. There's a lot of unknowns still left with it. There's agreements to enter into that John has read, but it could be something that really could be substantial to Kirkwood in terms of revenue. Russ, so I'll let you go ahead and explain what we know and what we don't know about this.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, the county executive has authority over $173.5 million of CARES Act funding that came through the federal government distribution for entities that are 500,000 population and above, in order to equitably share that throughout the county. Municipalities have lobbied, so to speak, to make sure that we get a piece of that pie. The Municipal Association obviously has been working on that effort. The county executive has been open to finding a way to make it fair and equitable. And it was determined that a per capita basis would be the best approach, with perhaps some analysis of need for the lesser populated communities, particularly in the North County area. This money, these funds, will be distributed through a process where the municipalities apply for the funding, identify the purposes for which they would expend those funds, and exactly what that would be for. We have through October 2nd to begin that process. October 2nd at 5 p.m., they close the application portal. So that's why this resolution is important right now. We want to make sure that we are at the front of the line, so to speak, to receive these funds. The exact specifics of how the program will be administered are a little on the ambiguous side right now, but we're working closely with our representative, Tim Fitch, who is helping navigate the process. We see a positive result for the city of Kirkwood here because it'll help reimburse us for expenses that are eligible that we have had to incur as a result of the COVID situation. And there are significant unplanned expenses here.
It's and one of the things that are required is the governing body of the city have to pass a resolution, you know, basically approving, having us get into agreement with the county on that. I know Les didn't mention it, but it is out there right now. The anticipated number is a little over $68 per person, which in Kirkwood's case would be over $1.8 million. So again, as Russ said, there are a lot of, and John might want to chime in too, there's still questions on exactly what expenses can go into that. When do they have to be expended by? But this is definitely a first step for the municipalities in getting reimbursement for some of the lost revenue we had due to the coronavirus. John, do you have anything to add in terms of the agreement or anything? Okay.
I don't have anything to add. I think as Russ alluded to, this is one step. It's a process that we're going to have to undergo, and hopefully we'll be successful in meeting all the criteria. There's still some uncertainties out there, but we clearly need to initiate this process by passing this resolution.
Yeah. One thing that I know we, the Municipal League and Metro Mayors, and I assume City Managers Group, how this money was going to, getting the county to release the funds is one thing, and how to do it. And we were pushing for the per capita, and that was ultimately agreed to. So hopefully as we move forward, this process will work, and all the municipalities will receive their share of the CARES Act funding. So with that, any questions or comments from council? All right, I see one. Councilmember Ward.
Yeah, John or Russ, is the county executive obligated to have dispersed all of the federal funds that he received by the end of the year?
My understanding is yes.
Okay.
Or they revert back.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further questions or comments, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sears? Councilmember Sears?
You're on mute, Bob.
Roll call you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Councilmember Dewey?
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz?
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons?
Yes.
All right, resolution passes. We'll go to city council reports. The only thing I'll mention, I don't know, Bob, you were going to say anything about the party on the porch, but this weekend would have been Green Tree Festival, so it's obviously unfortunate. It's not going to be held. They are trying something different for tomorrow night, something called Party on Your Porch, from 4:30 to 10, where bands are going to drive around the city of Kirkwood and people, if they're out on their porch doing whatever, can be entertained. I would suggest and recommend anyone go to our website. There's a lot of information on our website regarding party on your porch tomorrow night. So, any other council comments? Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes, just wanted to mention one thing, and we've talked about this in the past. On September 17th, 1787, the United States Constitution was ratified, and today, of course, is Constitution Day.
Thank you. I saw another hand. Councilmember Gibbons.
Just wanted to remind everyone that this weekend, Saturday, is the Autumn Outdoor Fest that the Special Business District is doing from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sidewalk sale, pumpkin patch, farmers market. They are trying to do live music, and they were required to put together a plan and submit it to St. Louis County in order to have the music. And they still haven't gotten approval of that yet. So they're hoping tomorrow. They had 5 different music venues set up. One of them was the Metropolitan Metropolitan Orchestra playing on the City Hall steps at 6 p.m. But again, they don't know if it's going to happen. Definitely the Outdoor Fest is happening.
Anything from the council? All right. I see no other hands. Chief.
Wallace has his hand up.
Yeah, just a comment. I want to express my gratitude that the Constitution has been amended many times.
Yeah, mine too.
Can you give us the dates of each one of those amendments?
Yeah, let me run those back to you.
Thanks. Chief Administrative Officer report.
I don't have a report at this time.
All right. City Attorney report.
I have nothing to report, Mayor.
All right. City Clerk report.
Yes, Your Honor. The first thing I want to report on is the report of the September 16th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The following action took place. The commission recommended approval of granting a 1-year extension of the period in which construction shall commence under the special use permit granted by ordinance number 10627 for Audi Kirkwood at 10230 through 10240 Manchester Road. The commission recommended approval of a site plan for a 12-unit 4-story residential building on the combined properties of 134 and 138 West Madison Avenue. After a presentation for a request for a special use permit for a restaurant with outdoor seating and site plan review for a coffee shop at 132 West Monroe Avenue, Commissioners Evans and Eagleton were appointed to a subcommittee. The subcommittee will meet via Zoom on September 24th at 9 a.m. I want to report on the upcoming public hearings for October 1st, 2020. We've scheduled a request to amend the zoning code by adding a definition for assisted living facility, adding assisted living facility as a special use permit in the B2 zoning district, and adding a parking rate for assisted living facility, a request for a special use permit for an assisted living facility, and of a preliminary development plan for a mixed use development in the B2 district at 300 North Kirkwood Road as submitted by Opus Development. Based on the report of the September 6th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, item number 2 of the report will be scheduled for a public hearing on October 15th, 2020. And October 22nd, 2020, which is rescheduled from August 27th, 2020, a request for a mixed-use development in the B2 zoning district known as the James, formerly Kirkwood Flats at 426 North Kirkwood Road. And that's all I have.
Thank you. All right. With that, the next meeting of the council will take place at 7 p.m. on October 1st, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
All right.